Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion, plays the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. Starting mid-run here, because we're still dealing with a little bit of an illness in the Laterno household. This run is incredible, but because I respect you as an audience, we're going to start a new one. Okay? I'm going to say goodbye to that Brimstone one. We're going to start from zero, because that's a more engaging, watchable experience. Fogs, 60 MP. Terrible haircut. Demon Baby. By the way, I would apologize if you have this haircut, but nobody on planet Earth has this haircut, so I'm not going to apologize for it, okay? If you do, stop. And I'm not the man who is the arbiter of hair designs. I'm just saying, that's a hairstyle that's going to get you judged, and not just by me. Anyway, I promised this in the episode that will not be seen because of the fact that, you know, I had to stop it like 5 minutes in. But we're never going to lose in the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus again. I've decided, without compromising Zane, I'm sick of losing. You know what I'm going to do instead of lose? I'm going to win, and I'm going to win every run, and I'm going to win a lot, and it's going to be a hook. We're going to have a hook in the Binding of Isaac now, and the hook is, the boy is never going to lose again. There's no reason to lose in this game. All I got to do is put my mind to it. But yeah, thank you for your well wishes. I'm not ill. I still have like some latent symptoms, but Kate has gotten whatever I have gotten, and we went back to the doctor today, and despite there being a negative test for strep throat that we took at the other doctor, the doctor we saw this time was like, those tests are not always reliable, and it really seems like she's got strep throat. So they gave me a course of antibiotics. Normally, I've been on the doctor's side. You know, I really want Locus of Death here for damage purposes. I've been on the doctor's side when they're like, we don't want to give you antibiotics because it's going to contribute to a global plague. And one day it's going to wipe out 5% of the world's population. This time, I was like, you give her the antibiotics because my wife has had symptoms forever. You know, like closing in on 8 or 9 days here. She's been bedridden, and I don't want her to die. So ideally, if you could just hook her up with those antibiotics if you're leaning towards strep, that would be ideal. That's what's happened. Hopefully, it's working itself out, but we'll see. It's the lost summer, dude. Go on vacation. Get an illness. It takes you out of commission for like nearly a month. Anyway, I'm not really complaining because I'm feeling relatively good, but, you know, it's hard. Hard to watch, you know, someone in your family suffer from something. Beyond that, you know, we went to the doctor today because originally we had dentist appointments, and my wife was like, we're going to go to those even though I'm sick. Then we woke up this morning, and I was like, how do you feel? And both of her eyelids had swollen up, and I was like, no dentist on planet Earth is going to put their hands in your diseased mouth. Don't take that as a malicious comment. It's not meant to be insulting. It's just meant to be, you know, true. I would feel bad for the dental hygienist that would have to navigate those murky waters of being like, you are clearly suffering from a contagious disease right now. I don't feel safe doing this. So instead, we went to the doctor. And again, I want to point out, it's not about me. You know, it's about making sure my wife gets healthy. So it wasn't a hesitation in my mind. On, you know, Saturday morning, I was like, we're going to the doctor. Because, you know, you're not feeling well, we got to get you sorted out. However, I do also want to say, for the purposes of making this video accessible to a larger audience, thank you for the bone heart. Yeah, why not? I got a lot of dirty looks when I was out with her today. And I understand why. The media has trained us, you know, through various movies and television shows and stuff like that. When you see a man and a woman walk into a doctor's office and the woman has 2 swollen eyes, you're supposed to give the man a dirty look. Because clearly, he's a piece of garbage who's, you know, abusing her. I don't necessarily take offense, but I will say those kind of preconceived notions are doing good guys like me dirty, okay? So just if you ever see a bald guy and a petite Asian woman walk into the doctor's office, give me the benefit of the doubt first. It was made worse as well because, you know, her throat is so swollen that she basically can't talk above a whisper. So I was doing a lot of the talking for her, but trying to do so in such a way where I was like, you know, I really don't want the doctor to think that I'm hitting my wife. And then going to the doctor's office and being like, yeah, I don't know, she's sick or something like that. I'm just saying, I understand why this, you know, the stereotype exists, but if you could cool it on the dirty looks, that would be ideal for me who has done nothing wrong. You know, I live in a big city, I'm never gonna see these people again, but I'm just saying it's not doing wonders for my public relations, okay? But if I gotta do it again tomorrow, in order to get medicine, I'll do it once an hour, as long as is necessary. Face the court of public opinion. Take care of the medical needs of my wife. Anyway, that's the illness update. Thank you for the kind words and the et ceteras and the armchair diagnoses and the you're still 6? Not you're still 6 years old, but like, you know, you're still sick. Plural. It's my favorite character from The Walking Dead Season 4. Plural Wilkinson. Owner of a Quaker State and Lube. Wait, it's Quaker Steak and Lube, isn't it? But it's owned by the Quaker State Corporation? I don't know. America's weird. I'm not saying Canada isn't. Please let me have this. I don't think you deserve it. But America's also weird, you gotta admit. What is this? More bone hearts, right? It's like 1,000 bone hearts? Yeah, I don't know if that was worth picking up, but it doesn't matter because we're never gonna lose. It's not like we don't have weird places in Canada. Like, you know what the weirdest place in Canada is? I'll explain it to you. It's called Tim Hortons. It's very, very famous. They've done a great job of advertising because everybody that doesn't live in Canada thinks that Tim Hortons is good. Everybody that lives in Canada in a city larger than like 400 people and has options for coffee and pastries knows that it's kind of garbage and has gone downhill a lot, you know, over the past 10 or 15 years, maybe even longer. But anyway, I always see, like, you know, I follow so many people on Twitter that are game developers from the US, and whenever they end up in Canada, they're like, I'm in Canada, and it's a picture of a red Tim Hortons cup, and I'm like, oh, you lost soul. Please make a Canadian friend who will tell you that you do not have to go to Tim Hortons. I mean, it's not like a colossal waste of money or anything like that, but it's just a sincere waste of your time and your taste buds. Ooh, okay, Brittle Bones has got something going on, although that did cost... it cost us our bone heart, didn't it? So that's probably why we got the value out of it, unfortunately. Why is Tim Hortons weird? Well, it's a coffee shop that sells donuts. The coffee used to be good and is now bad. The donuts used to be good and is now bad, are now bad, I should say. And they've also, you know, they're from an antiquated era, from before a large subset of the population really cared about artisan coffee or really cared about, like, you know, donuts are cool now. You got cake donuts, old fashions, crullers, cronuts. You know, back then it was like, I want a donut with a blueberry jam on the inside. And they're like, we got you covered, buddy. I don't think I want that. I think I want to leave. The other reason that Tim Hortons is weird is because it's revered as a Canadian icon, despite Tim Horton, you know, he was a hockey player, and then I believe he was involved in some kind of hockey administration in the NHL. Not really a dude to be too proud of, because he, like, died in a car accident caused by his own drunk driving. So, you know, Canadian icon. Anyway, I'm just saying, there's preconceived notions about Canada. And I'm happy to dispel them, okay? I'm trying to think of what other... If you ever come to Canada, you do not need to come to a Tim Hortons. If you're going with a group of people, feel free to tell them that I said you don't have to go to Tim Hortons. If you want to, by all means, okay? But just know that it's basically like going to... And it probably happens this way, too. It's like going to Seattle and going to a Starbucks for tourist reasons. You know, it's just coffee. And I would say that, you know, this is going to ruffle the slightest of feathers, but I would rather go to a Starbucks over at Tim Hortons any day of the freaking week, man. I don't know, maybe I do want to spend a key on a card. What do you actually have to do when you're in Canada? Get poutine, but get legitimate poutine. And I can teach you how to identify the signs, okay? By the way, NL, isn't it called poutine? Yeah, if you're French. If you're not French, don't be a weirdo. Just say, hey, give me the traditional poutine. You know, don't put on airs for it. It's okay. You know, it isn't like an escargot situation. You don't have to say it in the native tongue for it to be relevant. What you're looking for is a medium thickness French fry. There we go. A medium thickness French fry. So not a shoestring, but not a steak fry either. You know, maybe like a little thicker than a McDonald's French fry. You want a rich brown gravy, and you want real cheddar cheese curds. And I'm going to tell you something. Malf is too nice, okay? He's the poutine guy. Out of our group, at least, he's the poutine guy. And on Twitter, I see all these people, they will tweet Malf, and they'll be like, check it out, I have found poutine in Dusseldorf. And then they tweet him a picture of something that looks... I mean, I'm not going to say it looks horrible, but it doesn't look like poutine. He retweets all of it. He favorites it. He likes it. He replies. He says, hell yeah, brother. That's because he's a nice guy who's happy that you're engaging in a shared interest of his, okay? But I'll tell you, that's not real poutine. I see people, when they come to Canada, they make another classic mistake. With the first time they try poutine, they always try to gussy it up way too much. You know, if you go to an establishment that has poutine, they probably have varieties. They have varieties for those die-hard poutine consumers who have consumed so much of it that they're like, yeah, put some pulled pork in that, okay? It's not for you. You can have it, but if you've never had a poutine before, you gotta start at the traditional. You gotta get that 3-ingredient poutine, okay? Potatoes, gravy, cheese curds. You don't get Mexican poutine as your first poutine. Oh, but I like sour cream. You know, of course you can. It's your trip. It's your money. I'm just saying. You're doing yourself a disservice. What the heck? You know, it's like if you had never had sushi in your entire life before, and then you flew to Tokyo, and you went to okay, maybe this will work. You go to a sushi establishment, and you go, hello, Jiro. I will acquiesce 1 California roll, please. And then you post a picture of it and go, I love Japanese food. Nothing wrong with a California roll. It has a time and a place. I'm not a sushi snob, you know. I love a little classic. Oh, we got a library of some sort here. I love the simple, you know, tuna, salmon plus rice. Maybe it's not a library. Any of those varieties. I'll eat sashimi and love it. Shirashi don, no problem. Dubu chobap doesn't bother me. But sometimes when we're ordering sushi, I'm like, you know what? I don't want an artisan, pure Jiro Dreams of Sushi experience. I want cream cheese surrounded by rice with a little bit of like fried garlic on top of it. So I'm just saying, if it's the first time you've ever had poutine, you got to look out for a classic, okay? A traditional. The number one. You don't need to add in the variety just yet. My 2 cents. There's not much other Canadian advice. The only other thing I'll say, you know, there's misconceptions about Canada. You know, it's not all frozen. If you're coming to Vancouver in July, you don't need to bring a winter coat. If you responded to that question with, what if it gets cold? You're being ignorant. Not necessarily in a malicious way, but it's not gonna get that cold. Unless you live in the Sahara Desert, in which case it might seem cold, but it's the summer. It's hot. People are dying of heat stroke out here, you know, the same way they do everywhere else. Sometimes people will ask me questions, and again, they're not being malicious. But they'll be like, NL, I'm coming, just in general, but also to Canada. I'm going to Montreal, Ottawa, Niagara Falls, Quebec City, and Halifax. What should I do while I'm there? I don't know, dude. I have no freaking idea. I have been to some of those places, but I live 3,500 kilometers away. It's a long trip. I don't know what's going on in Halifax. Last time I was in Halifax, I was about 11 years old. I ate several meals of lobster that were... This is weird. Several meals of lobster that were paid for by my grandparents. So I don't even know if it's cheap. And then beyond that, I saw a documentary at one of Canada's first IMAX movie theaters. That was my experience in Halifax, okay? So that's... You son of a gun. How dare you? That was my experience in Halifax. That tells me... That tells you everything you need to know about living there. Please let me out of here. I know I've given up way too much to this villainous creature, but with 9 lives, I figured we had a really good chance, right? So, like, in my head, it was a good call. Maybe I'm highly mistaken. Doesn't really matter that you took that, honestly. We should leave, but first, let's see if we get a red heart. No red heart. We'll be back, and I mean that sincerely. Yeah, we don't care about the shop. We also don't really care about that, so let's move on. This is the Depths 2, right? Yeah. We're still in a great spot. We probably should not have given up literally all of the HP we've ever had to try to play that Demon Judgment, but still. I mean, I'm sure it cuts both ways, right? Like, actually, I'll give you a piece of advice. Locals are going to hate me for saying this. If you're coming to Canada as a tourist, you don't need to come to Vancouver. Unless you're doing, like, 6 months in Canada, okay? It's a wonderful city to live, but we have people that, you know, they come here and they go, you know, what should we do while we're in Vancouver? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. Here's why I love Vancouver. The weather is amazing, except for rain on your wedding day. But, you know, every time it's like, have you seen Stanley Park? And they're like, yeah, we did that day 1. And I'm like, did you go to Canada Place at Waterfront Station? And they're like, yeah, day 2. And I'm like, okay, dude, enjoy some wonderful sushi, a great craft beer scene, and Canada's mildest winter. That's what we got here. Great place to live, not necessarily a #1 Canadian tourist destination. I would definitely, personally, recommend if you're coming to Canada, go to Quebec. It's a unique place in North America. See Montreal. And by the way, I don't want to necessarily indulge the haters. Haters back off, like Miranda Singh says, okay? I know it's called Montreal, but when you're an Anglophone, you say Montreal. I'm so tired of being made fun of by Americans who tell me how to pronounce the name of the... Okay, I'm going down the wrong road. What do we got here? Emperor is great stuff that allows us to get out of boss rush. An out of boss rush experience. Golden bombs. I don't think we're going to be able to let our Demon Judgment do anything for us, unfortunately. Now there's a chance, but it's unlikely. So I've definitely left myself... You are a fool. I've left myself in a much pricklier situation than we needed to be in. And all I mean by that... We got everything we needed to get out of there. All I mean by that is... Well, I mean, you know, right? It's a little... 1 HP is not where you want to be when it comes to being on the womb. Really. It's as simple as that. Hopefully we have the opportunity to... I mean, we're not likely to get a deal with the devil, but hopefully we have an opportunity to... I don't know, maybe just keep our HP alive would be the #1 thing to focus on. But I really don't think the situation is that bad. Plus, I already promise you, we're not going to lose in Isaac ever again. And I pride myself on not being a liar. So, really, like, you know, I do fall victim to the sin of pride now and then. Which owns and is super cool. So I'm gonna, you know, parlay that pridefulness into, like, pretty much leaving my whole ego on the line here to win this Isaac run. Because if we lose, I would be embarrassed a little bit. You're dead. Let's go. Polaroid, what do you got for me? It's all pretty bad, but Pointy Rib does something. Alright. 2 HP. 2 HP is good, but if we lose it, we're down to 1 HP. And you might be saying, by the way, here's the thing. Context matters a lot. You might be saying, well, thank God you got 9 lives, or you'd be screwed. Yeah, but like, if I hadn't gotten 9 lives, I wouldn't have played so fast and loose with the situation to begin with. You get it, you know? It's like, I wouldn't have been nearly as flippant about our HP if we weren't in the situation that we're in right now. So it is possible to use algaes productively here. What do you think? Thank you for not having a bomb. Screw you for giving me a spider, but thank you for not having a bomb. That would have made things complicated. I'm sure it's the same for a lot of places on Earth, right? Like, when tourists come to your town, as a local, you're like, they do it all wrong. I like being a tourist. The most touristy I've ever been in my life was 100% when we went to London. Actually, Korea was also pretty similar when I went back, you know, this February. I went to so many museums. I ate all of the Korean touristy food that I wasn't financially able to experience when I worked there on a regular basis. I think if we take Shoop the Whoop. It was really nice, but dude, in London we went to like St. Paul's Cathedral, London Eye. We did this just terrible haunted house style thing called the London Dungeon that was cheesy and hilarious. Drank, you know, $14 pints of like half decent beer, but wasn't that good. No offense, my London friends. I'm sure I probably just didn't know which ones I should be ordering. It's an algae situation. Let's just be intelligent here. Rather use it than lose it. Could be a secret room. So I'm willing to give it a shot. It's nice to be a tourist. You know, one of the things about living in Vancouver that's very weird to me, you know, living in a big city that people visit, that, you know, that was close. A city where people are genuinely like, I'm going there this summer to see things, you know? What's weird is, so many of the things that are supposed to be touristy in Vancouver, I have never done. I've never watched a Vancouver Whitecaps soccer game. Many, many Canucks games, but no soccer games. I've never been to Science World. I've been to Stanley Park. That's like a routine thing. Sometimes I'm in Stanley Park by accident. Should take like a staycation and just be a tourist in my own city. You know, it's like Malf. Malf lives in Toronto. I don't know, when do you think he went to the CN Tower for the last time? Probably like 8th grade. I mean, like, I bet if you live in Washington, D.C., you just get annoyed by the fact that the White House is there, unless you work in the government, which maybe, you know, probably, like, a large percentage of the people that live there do. But anyway, you know, I bet you're like, oh, it's going to take us past Capitol Hill. The traffic there sucks. Meanwhile, everybody else is like, oh, my God, we're going to see the White House today. I get it. I also, don't take this the wrong way, by the way, but sometimes, and not sometimes, quite frequently, I get people and they tweet me and they say, hey, NL, what are some good restaurants in Vancouver? And I get that, like, I know why they're asking. I've lived here a long time. We eat out, you know, probably more than we should. But here's a counterpoint. That rules, because restaurant food is killer. Financially, not so cool. But also, good for my brain. Bad for my blood sugar, good for my brain. The title of my autobiography. I ruined my devil chance, but at least, you know, Jesus Juice. Slight damage upgrade. We're still hanging in here with 2 HP. I do want to look for the second secret room. Or the secret room for that matter, but I oftentimes have answered those questions. If you want to know Vancouver restaurant recommendations, I'm happy to offer some. You know, give me the location you're going to be staying, what kind of food you like in your price range. But you know where I'm getting a lot of those restaurant recommendations from? Google. I've vetted them, but first I Googled them. You know, best sushi in Vancouver. Wow, this sushi is really good. And then I'm sure when, you know, I respond to these people and they go to the restaurant, they're like, yeah, a local told us. And I'm like, eh. A local who originally found the restaurant using a search engine. But, you know, we're past that era, right? Like, I don't know, my parents, and other people that I know as well fit this bill. Like, sometimes when we're going out to eat, they'll be like, what about this place? And then I'll start to look it up on my phone. And they'll be like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm checking to see if it's good or if it has any health department violations or, you know, somebody got salmonella from eating there or something like that. And they're like, I just want to be spontaneous. Maybe we'll find a hidden gem. And I'm like, that is... what year do you think it is? It's 2018. You're taking for granted literally 1,000 people are going to be out there and they're going to say this place is good or this place is terrible. You're judging the restaurant on the sign and the menu. That's like going to Blockbuster and not looking at the Rotten Tomatoes. You know, instead you're just going to look at the description on the back. What happens when a man's pushed too far? Oh, that sounds good. How do you just look it up, dude? See what Peter Travers of the Rolling Stones said. I'm not saying you can't have, you know, little adventures in life. I think we put way too much, as a society, way too much emphasis on the name and sign of a restaurant when it comes to determining if we're gonna eat there. The menu, I'll give you. I don't really care about the menu, but if you're eating with people who are a little bit picky, you should look at the menu. Because maybe my mom, you know, she doesn't eat red meat. And when we go out to eat, she's self-conscious about what she orders sometimes. So she wants to order something healthy. And if you look at the menu, everything is like a honey glazed brisket smoked barbecue burger. You know, she's like, I don't really want to eat here. And I'm like, you know what, Mom? I understand. You know, you birthed me. You have the right to veto some restaurants because of society's pressure as a woman to get you to order a salad. I think it's frigged up, okay? I think you should be able to have the loaded bacon quesadilla. All you have to do is do what everybody else does, and when it arrives, be like, oh my god, it's so much richer than I thought it would be. And then you're absolved. So the menu, I understand. But the name of the restaurant, man, I don't think so. Doesn't interest me. By the way, can I get like a little bit of a kudos? I'm not asking for the world here, but your boy really kind of handled this whole difficult situation that came up, huh? 2 HP, not incredible stats, and yet here we are. We got 8 HP now. Stats are way better. And I'm feeling good. What? By the way, I deserve very little credit. What actually did it was 2 extremely great second secret rooms in a row. But I told you, you're in safe hands. I'm never going to lose an Isaac ever again. I just dispute the idea that I'm not spontaneous for looking up reviews of a restaurant before we go in. Google reviews, dude, it's worth a lot. DoorDash reviews are meaningless. You know what ticks me off about DoorDash? I should not have taken Steam sale. We should have just sucked it up with Black Rune. Maybe not, because the opportunity cost is there, and to use Black Rune on the chest might be worth a lot more. On DoorDash, I think they changed it recently, but until recently, they didn't use a 5-star system. They used a 6-star system. What's wrong with that, NL? They don't tell you, or they used to not tell you, that it was out of 6. So when you were ordering from a restaurant, you'd be like 4.5. That's really good. That's like world class. And then when it arrived, you're like, I mean, it's decent, but it's not amazing. And then you realize 4.5 is really like a 75. Not terrible for a restaurant, but, you know, not particularly good. And sometimes you'd order from a place that was like a 3.1. When I think 3.1 out of 5, I think serviceable. You know, if you have a craving for this, it'll fit your craving. But you could definitely do better. Then it arrives and you're like, this is poison. And you're like, oh right, they have like a 51%. And people are generally nicer on DoorDash than they are with their critical reviews. Like, I give everything maximum marks on DoorDash if it arrives within like an hour and a half and has the full order. If the food is bad, I'll just be like, well, I should have known that before ordering somehow. So if something's down there in the doldrums, you gotta be careful. That's all I'm saying. I trust the restaurant review process. I really do. If a restaurant has 1 review and it's a 1-star, that's meaningless. If it has 1 review and it's a 5-star, that's meaningless. If it has 200 reviews and it has a 2 out of 5 average, that's where you gotta start to, you know, think about the context. Did we really screw ourselves out of getting... No, because we had Bookable Isle first, that's right. I thought I messed up and couldn't get Bookworm. Not that it's a huge get right now. Oh, dude, take Celtic Cross, you fool. Shoop the Whoop actually working pretty well with Maw of the Void. You can use them both together, which I didn't actually realize. Probably have done it many times before, but you know what I mean. It's not that I didn't realize, it's that I didn't think of it. Slightly different story. This should be an easy cruise. You know, this is like the last 3 weeks of 12th grade. Nothing we do can torpedo our next steps. That was all set in stone with 10th grade. When we got 75 on a math test because our teacher was a jerk. Subsequently lost any chance of ever getting into Harvard. Which might be for the best. I mean, you know. There's got to be like a couple Harvard graduates watching this. What's tuition like for an undergraduate degree at Harvard? By the way, if you're European, just shut up, okay? I get it. When you're smart, the government pays you to go to school there. Stop acting so superior about it. We're already jealous. And in Canada, we got it pretty good. My tuition, you know, it was 10 years ago when I started going to university, but 12 years ago, actually. It was $4,500 a year in undergrad. It was like $7,000 if you were in engineering. Surely that's gone up now, but... You know, it's not that bad. When we were looking at Kate getting her master's in the U.S., they were like, it's a prestigious school. Tuition is $30,000 American a year. And you're like, that's... oh, is this clown college? Because that's hilarious. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps it a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.